What goes on when I black out? Golly, could I be the nut who's been butchering all these people? I'll never get into a good school.
Showers when the rest of us do. She takes showers when no one can see. She has no hair down below. Judy! She's a real carpenter's dream. Philidas a port and needs a screw. That's enough! Fuck off!
Coming to you undead from Elm Street in fictional Haddonfield with a beautiful view of Crystal Lake, the podcast where every day is Friday the 13th and every night is Halloween. You are listening to Blood, Guts, and Blu-Ray with your hosts Bloodbath and Brett667, the neighbor of the beast.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 3 of Blood, Guts, and Blu-Ray. My name is Bloodbath.
I'm Brett667, the neighbor of the beast.
And welcome to the episode we're referring to as the Summer Bummer. It's summertime again. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. I fucking hate summer. I think it's awful. When you're a kid, it's awesome, but when you're grown up, you're not in school, so it's just fucking hot and sticky and miserable and gross. Just give me winter. I want to just move to Alaska.
No, give me straight fall. If you give me straight fall, I'm in heaven.
Straight fall. I love fall. Fall's the best. So this is probably going to be the last episode where we talk about 4 movies.
If we were a radio station, that's where we would cue the baby crying.
Look, it's a lot of work, but we're moving to a weekly show now, so that's good. We had a lot of fun just talking about Dead Alive last time me and Brett linked up, so we're just going to do one movie, maybe 2. Occasionally we'll do a big 4-movie episode every now and then. When the time is available to all of us, maybe the first one we'll do back is like we'll do all 4 Scream movies or something. That'd be fun. But it's tough, so there's that. Also, next week our buddy Bruce is going to be part of the show. He's going to be a permanent fixture in the show. So he does our artwork, and he's an all-around good dude. Ready to welcome him to the fray. I've been nagging him for a while now, so I think I'll wore him down. Before we get started, just want to give a shout-out to John from John's Horror Corner for saying some really nice stuff about us on Twitter. He's been really supportive by posting, retweeting our show links. We really appreciate all the nice stuff you've said about our show, so we hope we don't let you down with this episode. Also, Trash Epics has been great too. So if you like our show and you're on Twitter, check those guys out as well. Thanks to everybody who's been following us on Twitter. At Wendy Loves India actually sent us a list of some cool Indian horror movies that I promise we're going to try to get to. No, we're going to get to them. I just don't know when, but we are going to get to them. I love foreign horror films, and I also love Indian food. So maybe I can make a night. I can make a night of it with my wife. Some Indian food, some Indian films. That would be awesome. Maybe we can do it in India. No, we can't. That's not plausible. But anyway,
I'll just watch them quietly by myself and sob. So you enjoy the Indian food and that sweet date of yours.
You could come. Well, you can. You're invited. There's always an open invitation for you to come. And you can bring Corey with you. Yeah.
I'll take you up on that.
It'd just be weird. I hope they have subtitles. It's going to be extremely weird.
If they don't have subtitles, I'm sorry, but we're making our own movie.
Let's make it up. Also, special shout out to Nightbirds for letting us use their music, along with Slasher Film Festival Strategy. We really appreciate it. Anyway, the Summer Bummer, here we are. We're going to talk about Friday the 13th. We're going to talk about Sleepaway Camp and Piranha 3D. But first, we're going to talk about Psycho Beach Party, which came out in 2000. It was directed by Robert Lee King. The budget was $1.5 million. The box office was $268,000. It was a bomb, as they say in the industry. Didn't make its money back. not even close. Body count was 9. Naughty count was 1. Brett, what's your synopsis?
Well, this movie was set in a time of surfer dudes and bikini-clad babes looking to hula together, and of course there's like a big kahuna surfer. Totally self-aware of making fun of the Beach Boy flick period as well as the slasher. Had a lot of really interesting, funny moments. A young girl who gets the nickname of Chicklet is trying to be cool with the surfer dudes and wants to learn how to surf. You know, total opposite of what all the other girls want to do. They want to lay by the beach and do nothing. But she has these weird fits of, like, schizophrenia where she becomes these different characters in her head. And all the while, people are just dying on the beachside. And she's starting to think she's the killer, which leads to a very, very twisty road ending where it just kind of jostles you around in the back seat. And pretty fantastic ending.
The guy who played the female detective in this, he actually wrote the play. The play was originally called Gidget Goes Psychotic.
Okay.
And that's the whole reason why I picked this movie. I actually hadn't seen it until I saw it on Hulu, and I saw the box for it. I hadn't actually watched the whole movie yet. But I thought it would be fun for this episode, and I like some of those pulp surfer movies. They used to be on TV all the time during the summer when I was a kid. And the like surfy instrumental songs I think are awesome. That's why I dig Agent Orange and Nightbirds and all that stuff. And also Amy Adams is in this movie and I love her.
Very young Amy Adams.
I love her, dude. My wife can't understand why I like her so much. She's like, she's a terrible actress. She's not good looking. I'm like, I think she's a great actress and she's a smoke show.
Absolutely.
So this movie does have a bit of an upside. Amy Adams, Kimberly Davies are both super sexy, big kahuna beach bunny types. The soundtrack is really good if you're partial to that sort of music. I like the way it opens. I like the way it closes with that dancer. I thought that was a nice touch.
Yep.
Charles Busch playing the female detective was pretty funny. It made it like a pulp surf slasher with a John Waters type twist. But the downside outweighs the upside for me because, for one, Lauren Ambrose is just unbearable. The main character, Chicklet.
Oh, absolutely.
She's terrible. And there's some terribly racist shit in this movie too, with the where she's doing like her impression of like a black woman.
Oh, Tylene or Tylene?
Oh,
Tylene.
God,
Oh.
That's horrible. So a lot. You may be listening to this going, "Who's Lauren Ambrose?" Well, Google it. And I guarantee when you do, you'll go, "Oh yeah, I remember her. She's awful."
Oh yeah, she played her claim to notoriety is to be the sad sack on 6 Feet Under for however long that show went. Oh.
And Can't Hardly Wait too.
Oh, and Can't Hardly Wait. That's right. I just remember hating her in 6 Feet Under, and continuing to hate her in this movie, even though she played the complete opposite of her character from that show, and just going, she is literally overacting so hard. The screen is hitting me in the face.
And I get like there is a degree that everybody is overacting a little bit. You know what I mean? They're going just a little bit over the top because it was a play, and then they brought it to the screen, and you know they're supposed to be a little bit campy, and that's cool. That's why I thought I would dig it, honestly. But the kills in this are fucking terribly lame, and they spent a lot of money to make this look cheap. And I hate that Greg from Dharma and Greg just talks in rhyme the whole time.
Oh my god, you just did it.
I didn't even try.
Everything he says is just like, well, let's try small fry, and I'm like, oh god, if I knew this guy in real life, no.
It's look, there's a couple really funny parts and that are sprinkled in to a very long and boring movie. It's an hour and 35 minutes that you just hope ends soon.
Oh God, yeah.
There's a lot of like homosexual undertones, and I'm not homophobic. That's not what I'm trying to get at. But it just sort of screams like, hey, let's sprinkle some homoeroticism in here with Americana the way John Waters does.
There was a whole full-blown like machismo turned oiled up sexual wrestling scene that I was just like, this is ill-placed.
It's just an utter like that whole trope is just an utter failure. Terrible. I thought this movie is it's a turd with a surfboard. What are some of your thoughts on this thing?
I have to completely agree. I found a lot of scenes to be absolutely hysterical. I thought that there was a lot of nuances that were funny. Like you said, the female police officer played by a male who is also in love with what is being told is the most attractive, sexy surfer, on the beach. I thought that was pretty funny. Because he pays no attention really to anybody except for Chicklet's alter egos and the male-female cop, which kind of made him have strange fetishes almost. This movie had a couple fantastic quotes that I died out laughing, and the beginning of the movie actually starts off so well because when she just clicks and says, "Who do I have to fuck to get a hot dog?" I was like, I died laughing. I was like, oh, this is actually probably going to be really funny. And then nothing really made me laugh until, spoiler alert, they're pulling the mom away and she says, "You're not going to get away from this." And she has this slight pause and she goes, "You motherfucking cocksuckers." I just almost fell off my bed laughing. Literally, I just mentioned 2 lines, a really good dance scene at the end that was kind of funny because it was so self-aware.
Oh, the one where they're like dance fighting?
They're
so
dance
funny.
fighting. Yeah, but they have all these new guys and girls that are not part of the movie at all that are dancing with them. Like, I loved it.
Part of me felt like this was like a like almost trying to be like a trauma film. That's what I really think. And they pulled actors, like they pulled the guy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, who's supposed to be like the funny guy in that show, and he's like the main, I guess, protagonist male in it. He's Chicklet's love interest. And he's just so fucking boring. It's no wonder he never got a job other than this after like Buffy was done or whatever. Because that show sucked, and this was right in there with it. The soundtrack all by itself though gets like if I'm awarding like points or whatever, it gets a half a point all by itself. It's that good. I like that kind of music. I fucking love Agent Orange and stuff. So for me to kind of have that in the background the whole time, like made it go by a little bit quicker. But still, it's just this fucker dragged.
Oh, so bad. If you could cut the first 10-15 minutes and the last 10-15 minutes and put it together, I would say it would be a great short film.
And it got to points where it just didn't even make sense anymore. I fell asleep 4 times watching it. The end I was just confused by, with the I don't want to. Do I want to give it away? This movie came out in 2000. If you know what I mean, you're probably not. Yep. You're not going to watch
it. Give it away. we should have like a 5-year rule or something where we could spoil movies that are 5 years and older.
That's a good rule. Solid rule. The foreign exchange student that's living with Chicklet and her mother is not actually foreign. He was some part of some psycho family. The backstory behind that family just doesn't even make sense. They didn't explain it well, and he's just he's killing people who are not perfect. That's his whole shtick. And then you find out, or you don't. You're not really sure. It might have been a dream, but is it? I don't know because she pops up at the end. I don't know, man.
I did enjoy the ending because it makes the foreign guy a killer, which was a terrible idea because, like you said, he ends up being a son that murdered a bunch of people in a house where a celebrity was staying during the story. It was supposed to be haunted, but they don't explain how he's not in jail. They never even said he went missing. They just said he killed everybody. And then he all of a sudden is a foreign exchange student, turns around, and then they get him, and then she wakes up in a hospital, and she's getting electrotherapy shocked, and it's like Wizard of Oz, like, I had a dream, and you were there, and you were there. And then that turns into a movie that a bunch of people are watching in a drive-thru. She pops up and stabs somebody in the backseat of the car. I thought it was funny. I took it as almost spoof humor of all these twists in horror movies. I actually enjoyed it, even though it made no fucking sense. But it didn't mean it didn't save the movie at all. It was just like, oh, okay, that was a funny way to end this. I can't wait to go watch something else.
If they made this movie gorier, like a lot gorier, like tons of blood, and just like elaborate, crazy deaths, it would have made it better, because it would have been more fun. This movie, it's supposed to be a fun beach movie with a sleuthy slasher twist, and it just got lost. I thought the whole thing got lost. So that's my take on it. I give it a 1 out of 5. I thought it was a turd.
I actually gave it a 1.5 out of 5 stars. I agree in its turdiness. I guess my turd, I just thought it didn't smell just as rank as you thought it did.
But Amy Adams was really hot in it, so
that's she might be 0.5, and the "You'll Never Get Me, You Motherfucking Cocksuckers" will probably
that was the aunt from Sabrina Teenage Witch. Yeah.
I was trying to think of where she was from.
You are listening to Blood, Guts, and Blu-Ray with Bloodbath and Brett667, the neighbor of the beast. Let us know what you think by reaching out to us. We can be found on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Facebook by simply searching Blood, Guts, and Blu-Ray. To suggest a film or trailer you think we should discuss, or to comment on this or any other episode, send an email to bloodgutsandblueray@gmail.com. We will always get back to you. Thank you for listening to Blood, Guts, and Blu-ray, and enjoy the rest of the show.
We're moving on. We're moving on to Piranha 3D. Came out in 2010. Directed by Alexandre Aja. AJA. I'm being ignorant. I have no idea how to say his last name. I'm sorry. His budget was $24 million. He did $83.1 in the box office. There is 30-ish kills in it, and that's the body count. The naughty count is it's a good 5. It's pretty good. Brett, why don't you go ahead with the synopsis there?
Well, it's obviously spring break, and all the college kids are coming out to the lake to get naked and jump on giant bouncy balls in the lake, and everybody get naked and have a good time. The sheriff, the police officer, Elizabeth Shue, is charged with protecting the area and keeping and tasering people, pretty much, as evident in the beginning. Unfortunately, a rogue fisherman drops a beer bottle that opens up a giant rift and reveals a hidden lake underneath that releases a now extinct version of piranhas out into the unsuspecting populace. Also, her son happens to get on a boat, which is pretty much a porn shoot, and also ends up dragging his 2 younger siblings onto it, which turns into a non-stop adventure of a bunch of people getting eaten by terrible CGI piranhas, and probably the best use of a motor by Ving Rhames. Just absolute. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was actually really surprised by this movie about how much I laughed at it.
Yeah, basically, this movie is exactly what you think it is. Yep. Killer fish, college nudity, asshole spring breakers, Ving Rhames. That basically sums up. Now, I'm a huge Jaws fan. I love that movie. I'm really glad Richard Dreyfuss got a cameo. Another similar like creature feature. I mean, he looks like he had fun with it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Did have a lot of great cameos, without a doubt.
Yeah, a lot of porn star cameos.
Yes, that too.
Because they made this into a 3D movie that was like loosely based on the original, they went fucking overboard with the CGI. It's so bad it's in a place where it's like so bad it's good. Some of the makeup effects are pretty good though. and the real effects they used were really good, but they didn't use them enough. They're trying to make this like this over-the-top 3D movie, and it makes this $24 million movie look like one of those movies that you get free on demand.
Wait, this movie was $24 million?
It cost $24
You're
million.
kidding. Oh my god, I thought this was a cheap... I mean, obviously they paid a lot for all the actors.
Right. But you know that like the low budget... You know those low budget creature features that are like just below Sharknado and Eight-Legged Freaks in the pecking order? Like this is one of them. The two protagonists, Jake and Kelly, are fucking terrible. They're just too stubborn to smash each other out. Mm-hmm. But Ving Rhames is awesome. Who doesn't love him? I love him. He's amazing.
Underrated actor of our time.
Totally underrated. He's great. And Elizabeth Shue is still pretty good looking, if that's your thing. She basically doesn't act. She plays herself in every movie she's in. Hollow Man, Karate Kid, Piranha. There's one the one funny part though, I laughed hysterically, is when the girl Kelly, the main girl, is like trapped in the boat, and then Elizabeth Shue comes on board the boat to try to rescue her, and she opens that like window or whatever that Kelly can't get out of because it's like barred, and she's like, "Oh my God, hi!" I that was legitimately funny.
I thought the funniest.
I'm sorry.
I was just talking about funniest part. The funniest part is when the main protagonist, whose name I don't remember, goes to get the porn shooting specialist's body to throw it into the water, and he takes it off, and the guy comes back to life, and all he can dribble out of his blood-filled mouth is wet t-shirt, and then he just dies. Oh man.
The nudity in this movie is kind of what makes it worth it.
Oh yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Like it's probably the best part because the piranhas look so shitty, and it's just, I don't know, man. Like I fucking hate Spring Breakers. The whole MTV Spring Break bullshit. It could all burn up, and it wouldn't faze me at all. But the underwater naked chick scene is awesome.
With the opera music? Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. But I'm going to admit, it ran too long. Mm-hmm. And that's saying a lot. Like, that's a huge knock on this film. Two chicks are hooking up underwater. They're both super hot. And they're naked. And it was spoiled by an insufferable Jerry O'Connell. Ugh. And it just taking way too long. Like, and he's insufferable, and he's not a very good actor or anything, but he was trying to play Joe Francis from Girls Gone Wild.
Oh yeah,
that's why he was like being such a fucking asshole. And that guy threatened to sue him, and the director, and Paramount, or I think whoever the production company for this was. I might be wrong. It might not be Paramount, but because he didn't want to be portrayed that way. Even though countless people have come out and said he's like the scum of the earth. I don't know. There's the one part too at the end where what's his name is in it? Adam Scott. We forgot to mention that Adam Scott is in this movie, and he's actually really funny.
Yes, he is.
Because he's playing the straight man, and that's what makes him so funny in this movie.
He goes, hey, one of the best quotes is he goes, is that a fucking piranha, in the Adam Scott way that he does, and I definitely died laughing.
And Paul Shearer is in it.
Mm-hmm.
He's the cameraman for the porn cameraman, and he has maybe the best line in the movie too, where he's like, "Okay, guys, we're shooting a porn, not a drama. Let's make a decision."
Yes. Oh man, I don't know. I mean, with Christopher Lloyd and like Eli Roth popping up out of nowhere, and I mean, just the whole douchebag Spring Breakers just getting absolutely mauled is probably one of my favorite scenes, because the girl getting cut in half was from the metal wire from the stage was hysterical.
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah, it was good.
And Eli Roth's head exploding was also pretty good too.
Oh, that massacre scene was actually really good. That's what when I brought up like makeup effects and stuff, and some of the special effects, like most of those were real. Not a lot of those were CGI.
No, that was all real.
Yeah, the piranhas were the CGI, and that was fucking terrible. But that whole massacre scene was is worth it. The nudity in the massacre scene. The more I'm talking about this movie, the higher it is getting for me, because I originally had this really low, and now I think I'm not going to tell what my original rating for this was, but now I'm upgrading my rating because now that we're talking about it, I'm like, you know what? That was a fucking cool part. You know what?
Yep.
I mean, Spring Breakers dying by the dozens is fucking awesome. Fuck those guys.
And the douchebag boyfriend of Kelly trying to run people over with the boat.
Hilarious.
Hysterical. And, okay, so I love how the police, too. Let's talk about the fact that before Ving Rhames got eaten alive by piranhas by ripping off a motor from the back of a boat and just cutting them to pieces for, a solid 4 minutes.
Of course he would.
Before that, he was shotgunning them in the water, around people. Like he had the most amazing shotgun as well as the best aim in the world, because he was like shooting at people getting eaten by piranhas and only hitting the piranhas. And I'm like, that's the laws of physics do not apply to Ving Rhames.
The massacre scene took 9 days to shoot.
Wow.
Can you imagine? Excuse me, Jesus. Can you imagine being on set in the water for 9 fucking days? Just in the sun, in the water, just fucking hanging out there, and then waiting to get chopped up or, whatever's going to happen to you as an extra. That must have been terrible.
And then having to reset and do it all again.
And again, and again, and again. Can't imagine. Funny thing about this one, the Motion Picture Association of America, the MPAA, the ones who do like the ratings and all that shit, they didn't ask them to cut anything for this movie. Nothing.
Really?
Nothing. They're usually pretty conservative about stuff. There's a whole documentary on how the rating system works, and that there is no system. They just they grab a bunch of stay-at-home moms and then they rate the film. That's sort of how it works. And they're very secretive about it and all this other stuff. And they usually, like right off the bat, if they know it's a horror movie, they kind of start it off at like an R rating, and then depending on how much gore it is, it gets an X rating. So, or NC-17 or whatever. And NC-17 is bad because you're supposedly not able to advertise it through normal channels like television and what have you. So it's kind of it makes it like that much harder to sell. But there's no like adjudication for it. You know what I mean? You can appeal with the MPAA, but you can't appeal with like the court. You know what I'm saying? So you're kind of like, you're at their mercy. I'm sure that there's tons of bribery going on or whatever. But anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
And the critics, oddly enough, it scored very high with critics. And I think that has to do with the movie just being so obnoxiously self-aware.
Absolutely.
It's to another level of self-aware. Every minute of this movie is completely self-aware. So I'm gonna upgrade. The more I talk about it, maybe we should start talking about movies before we do this, so I don't sound like a fucking idiot when I upgrade my shit. But I guess I just didn't really do them. I think you know what? I mean, I have a bit of a system the way I rate stuff. Like, if the soundtrack is cool, that's like a 0.5. You know what I mean? Like that's a 0.5 all by itself. And if there's like a fucking awesome part, like this massacre part, well, that's a 0.5. And Ving Rhames, he's in it, and he's fucking sick in this movie. 0.5.
0.5.
And then just the, some of the adages and some of the humor. So I'm giving this a 2 out of 5. It was a 1.5, but I'm going to upgrade it to a 2. Because I didn't do the math very well. I'm going to get on some of these critical ratings for Friday the 13th because they're ridiculous. I can't wait to go on this tirade. But in that, like, people, so years after Friday the 13th was released, people changed their ratings, like the critics did, because it was so successful that they're like, oh, it's actually a really important movie. But at first they're like, this is a piece of shit. So I don't want to be in the same boat as them because I think they're all a bunch of shitheads. Roger Ebert, Gene Siskel, they're all assholes. They're all dead. So. And I'm happy about it. Brett, what'd you think? What do you get?
Well, my rating's going to be a lot higher than yours because I don't really have a system whatsoever. So if anybody wants to call me out on it, that's great. But in the end, I really kind of rated on enjoyment, horror or humor factor, and of course, like you said, soundtrack, things like that. I just don't have anything actually planned out. I gave it a 3. I thought it was extremely fun. It was very self-aware, so it made any of the bad parts almost kind of better in a sense because they were purposely bad. The CGI was awful, but it was the right length. And yes, the technically main protagonist was pretty awful too. But I felt like with the slew of B celebrities and just the absolute fun and watching Spring Breakers get brutally massacred by a bunch of prehistoric piranhas, I had a lot of fun, so I gave it a 3.
I actually agree with you 100% on it being the right length. I think length now is so important. If it was anything,
so
it was
vital.
anything longer. I think it's 88 minutes or something, right?
Yep, it's really short.
That's fine. I think 95 minutes, anything past 95 minutes, you're pushing it. Depending on what it is. Like The Exorcist is 2 hours and 10 minutes long, but it's The Exorcist, so you need a lot more time. If this movie, imagine this movie being an hour and 40 minutes. That's way too long. It's entirely too long.
No, if a director's cut, if somebody bought it for me, I'd throw it in the garbage right off the bat.
That's the thing. There is no director's cut because nothing was cut from this movie.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
So there will never be a director's cut, and that is great.
And one more fact about your point system and why it went up today. This is one of those movies that's more fun when you talk about it.
Yeah.
Watching it with cynical eyes, you can definitely say, man, that was shit. But watching us laugh about, do you remember when Ving Rhames did this? It gets better because you start giggling again about it. So
yeah, and also, if I think I said last episode, if I rate something a 2, it means I will watch it again. Not that I would change my score. I might. That might happen. But I won't change my score because it did well in the box office, or because I'm trying to not look like an idiot in the papers. Like, I'll change my score and be like, you know what, man, I went back, I watched it again, and I missed that. I wasn't paying attention to certain parts. But a 2, below a 2, probably never going to watch it. I'll never watch Psycho Beach Party ever again. Ever.
No, oh god, no. I've already deleted it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to delete it from my mind. It's proving to be difficult because Amy Adams' butt, isn't it?
And you'll never get away with it, you motherfucking cocksucker.
But if we're just kind of hanging around, like if this time next year, you and I are hanging out, they're like, yo, let's throw on Piranha. Yeah, of course, let's throw on Piranha. Or like Spring Break comes around, let's throw on Piranha, dude.
Oh yes.
Because I hate Spring Break. I live in a beach town. Spring Break happens here. It's fucking terrible. It's awful.
As do I, and I agree.
Ugh, God, I just hate the frat boy types. The one and I thought that it was always where we went to school, we didn't really, like in college, we didn't have the frat boy types. We had guys who were in frats, but they weren't like the trope. You know what I mean? Like they didn't fit the mold, the television mold or the movie mold. Spring Break, they all fit the mold. Sup, bro? You lift, bro? Like, go fuck yourself. Eat shit and die, or eat shit and live with bad breath.
That's way worse.
Fucking assholes. Anyway, yeah. So 2. I'll watch it again. I'll totally watch it again.
3, had a lot of fun.
Good. That's a solid rating. Right in the middle, 2.5 between the two of us. That's good.
Yep.
Let's talk about what many consider to be a classic. It's a little movie I like to call Friday the 13th. It came out in 1980. Directed by Sean Cunningham. The budget for it was $550,000. The box office for it was $59.8 million. So it did like 108 times its budget, basically.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive. Body count was 10. Naughty count was 1. Brett, take it away.
Okay. There's a camp, Crystal Lake, that every year has been tortured on the same date by some unknown forces. And some would say that it's haunted, some would say that it's cursed, or everybody's doomed, as the old man on the bicycle would say. And, of course, a entrepreneur with fancy glasses and a mustache decides he wants to reopen Crystal Lake and hires 6 young, attractive people to help open the camp and be the camp counselors. Of course, there is a dark evil lurking in the trees that starts knocking them out. I would say one by one, but it's not. It's 3, and then it turns into a very prolonged time until somebody bites it again. And everybody's left wondering who the killer is, what the killer is, and how are they ever going to stop this evil. That's my synopsis.
It's pretty good. So Sean Cunningham worked with Wes Craven on Last House on the Left, and he was inspired by the Halloween movie that came out in 1978. Mm-hmm. Originally, this was actually going to be titled Long Night at Camp Blood.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, but I mean, you can see now that would have, I think it would have made it difficult to make a sequel with that name. Friday the 13th happens every year, so having a sequel is like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
That's true.
You know what I mean? The same thing with Halloween. It happens every year. It makes sense. But Cunningham wanted to use the Friday the 13th title for something, so he just kind of bought a page in Variety without a movie or anything, and then just said, I got, like, you know, it's going to be the scariest movie you've ever seen. And he staked its claim. That camp is Camp Nobi Bosco. I've been there when I was in Boy Scouts. We used to go there all the time. Mm-hmm. It's in Blairstown. Blairstown is it's a really nice area in northern New Jersey. It's very rural. Lots of farmland. It basically looks like Warwick, New York, if you've ever been there. It's kind of colonial looking. You know, when I first saw this movie when I was a kid, it was a lot scarier. Now that I've kind of, I've a little bit more experience in horror, got older, it's not as scary, but I still appreciate it for what it is. That first girl that gets killed, that hitchhiker girl, Annie, is like so over the top peppy that I would probably kill her.
Yeah.
Like, no, I said probably. I would definitely kill her.
Oh, absolutely.
Her dream is to, like, become a cook. So your dream is to cook fucking Salisbury steaks for little kids. If that's your dream, you need to fucking rethink your dreams. Fortunately, she doesn't get a chance because she dies. And she dives into the only fucking rock on the side of the road. It's incredible.
It is the largest fucking rock that has been on that street the entire scene. You're right. It's just bad luck, Annie.
Like, and it's like, she's not stopping. I could go past the rock. No, I'm just gonna dive headfirst into that rock.
Annie, go get your rock.
God, Annie, get your rock.
Annie, go get your rock.
So one of my notes, it's a funny story, but it's not really a funny story because I don't like animal violence. I hate it. But there was no, like, PETA or anything. I hate PETA too, just so everybody knows. But there was no PETA or anything back in the day. But in the middle of the movie, one of the counselors has a snake in her room. And fortunately for her, another counselor has a machete. So they go in the room and they kill the snake with the machete. And I wrote in my notes, I wonder if that snake was real. Thinking that I would never find the answer for that. It was just like, it would just be too weird. And also, Tom Savini he's a, very famous makeup effects, special effects guy. I'm like, oh, he probably had some elaborate fucking sock puppet made up. No, it was a real snake.
It had to be a real snake.
It was a real snake. Not only was the snake real, the snake it was a pet. And they convinced the guy to sell it to them. And then they killed it on set, and he was there. He was there when they killed it, and he cried the whole time.
Oh my god,
it's terrible.
That's awful.
It doesn't change my opinion about the movie at all, but it's still terrible. Because I love my dog so much, I think.
Hey, listen, I had 2 pet snakes, so that was actually heartbreaking to me, and I'm glad you brought that up because I wrote that in my notes. I said, "Oh my God, that was a real snake." The way I had one snake pass, and then I had to get another snake, and I gave him away to a very happy home that he was healthy for years before I moved away. I know what a dead snake, how a snake like that was real. I was like, "Oh my God, that was real. That was real."
So this isn't in 1980. This isn't an uncommon occurrence. All those Italian, like, cannibal exploitation movies and stuff, there's animal violence in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
In Cannibal Holocaust, like, it's my understanding that the director of that movie was held in prison because until he could prove that the actors that were in that movie were all still alive and well. And then they ended up holding him for 6 more months for all the animals that he killed in that movie. They killed a lot of animals. So, anyway, yeah, but we used to go to this camp. We used to go to Camp Crystal Lake all the time. We never called it that, but well, everybody called it that, but it was not officially called that. It's Camp Novi Bosco. It's still there. You can still go. They actually just made a book about the production of this movie. It's like something. It's got Blairstown in the title. I forget what it is, but anyway, I watched a documentary on this film, and the documentary was called "His Name Was Jason," and the actress who played Mrs. Voorhees, Betsy Palmer, she almost backed out of this movie because she thought it was a piece of shit. That's a quote. She thought it was a piece of shit, but she needed a new car, and her fee for the movie would have covered the cost of a new car. But she was worried it was going to ruin her image, which was like a very like June Cleaver-ish type of very straightforward, you know. But I thought she played a middle-aged psycho lady pretty well, even though those fight scenes are fucking terrible. They're awful. For what it is, it's really good. I mean, if you adjust the numbers for inflation, this movie makes damn near $120 million. And it was a big year. It came out in a huge year for horror. That was the year The Fog came out. Prom Night came out. And another movie called The Shining came out that year.
Ooh.
So it went on to obviously amass a slew of fucking sequels. Some ridiculous, some really good. And of course, uptight fucking squares hated this movie. Hated it. Notably the shittiest, most overpaid hack critic in the history of culture, Gene Siskel.
Mm-hmm.
I hate talking shit about dead people. No, I don't.
No, you don't.
But no offense to his family or anything. But he was such a fucking drag. Ebert at least watched these movies a little bit with a
subjective
mind. And he
mind.
tried to put them in a category of their own because he didn't want to compare Friday the 13th to the fucking Godfather because you can't. But he didn't like this movie either because he was a puritanical dipshit. He didn't because they didn't want people. They were trying to, be the take the moral high ground for society and push them into that direction and say you can't root for the killer. Yes, you fucking can. You should. You probably should.
A lot of times you should, yes.
Even when you think you shouldn't, just do it. And then Leonard Maltin, who's another critic, he called it a bomb and then realized it was going to make over 100 times its own budget and changed his review because he's a fucking hack. Stick to your guns, you spineless, bearded shit muffin. He's so stupid. I hate all those critics, man. I just can't stand them. Here's the criticisms that are fair to draw. How could these fit kids let a middle-aged woman kill everybody? I meant to say everybody, and I said everyone at the same time. How can they let her kill everyone? Now, we haven't even gotten to that yet. Basically, Brett didn't cover it in his synopsis, which is fine, because he was trying to be a nice guy and not give anything away, but we decided a couple minutes ago we're just going to give it away.
5 years, yeah.
She used to work at the camp. And her son also went to the camp, and the counselors were supposed to be watching him, and they weren't watching him. They were off having sex, and he drowned in the lake. And so now she's taking revenge on anybody who tries to start a camp there. She basically just went into overdrive with her madness. You know what I mean? So now that they're opening up this camp, and she's killing off all these counselors one by one. But still, it doesn't make sense that like she can she doesn't lure everybody in. She lures a couple people in, and then she stabs them unexpectedly. But I still find it very hard to believe that she is able to kill all these kids except for one. You know what I mean?
Or somehow shoots somebody in the chest 3 times with the bow and arrow while he's fixing a generator. But hey, you know, I mean, she's...
Yeah, and his feet aren't even touching the ground when he's stuck to the door. You know, like you notice that he pierced him, and he's like pinned to the door with the bow and arrow.
Yeah,
and his feet aren't even on the ground. What, he jumped and you shot him and it was perfect? Come on, that kind of made it a little bit unbelievable. But it's fair. Doesn't seem logical, but it's fair. The acting in this movie does suck. It's really bad, but it doesn't make it unwatchable. It just makes it hard to believe. These counselors were all fucking dorks. That's it.
And the pacing is pretty awful.
The pacing's
too.
pretty bad. It could have been better. But it was supposed to be like a roller coaster. That's what Sean Cunningham wanted. He wanted it to be like an insane roller coaster where you kind of don't know where you're going with it, where it's going, but you know where you end up is pretty wild. The fight scenes at the end between Adrian King and Betsy Palmer are terrible. They look so fake. Mm-hmm. They look like they were doing the best they could not to hurt each other. So there's a lot wrong with it. But that's what makes it so great. They only had $550,000 to spend on it. That's not a lot of money as far as making a movie goes. Let's look at the plus side, because the pluses far outweigh the minuses here. Tom Savini's special effects in this movie are great. They are still great. Kevin Bacon's death scene is an iconic moment in horror. Iconic.
That's probably my favorite and one of only favorite scenes of just... I jumped completely out of my skin because I just did not expect that to happen.
It's awesome. And they went into further detail on how they were able to do that in that documentary I was talking about. But it's still fucking cool. Even though I know how they do it now, I was like, wow, that's awesome. What else? The counselors were such dorks that it's exciting to root for them to get killed off. The shoe was on the other foot. Halloween didn't do that. When I watched Halloween, I didn't root for Michael Myers. Not in the first one. But I did root. You know, you do root for this mysterious killer. Harry Manfredi's soundtrack is fucking awesome. Betsy Palmer played her part well. The little jump scare dream at the end is good. It you know, I if you didn't know it was coming, it's a little bit unexpected. So
I definitely jumped out of my skin because I was like, oh, this movie's over, and then whoosh.
I mean, the music is playing, and she looks so peaceful on the lake, and then all of a sudden, Jason Voorhees jumps out, setting in play 9 more fucking sequels.
He's still in the lake. You didn't find the body of the boy. He's still in the lake. Shh, shh, shh.
And all this, I love. The first one is not my favorite of all the Friday the 13th. I love Friday the 13th. It's not as good as Halloween, but as a franchise, I think Friday the 13th might be better than the Halloween franchise. The second one's great. The third one's great. The fourth one's great. They're all good movies, and they're all what they are. So they're spending a lot of money to make people die. It's fucking awesome. What do you rate this?
Well, before I rate it, I have to say that if I go into a museum and see Ford's original Model T, I have a lot of respect and love for what it was. But in 2016, my ass does not want to drive around a Model T around the streets. Respect it for what it was, what it did. I was bored out of my skull. The pacing was pretty bad. The effects were good, well, great for the time, but I had no interest in the plot nor the mysterious killer. And yes, I did want to see the counselors die. Pamela Voorhees, although, like you said, kind of contrary to what you said, how could this lady be killing all these young, fit counselors? I thought that made her seem more powerful and mysterious at the end. That she was filled with such bloodlust and loss and anger that her character... And she smiled through all of her conversations, which... Her time on the screen was the best part of this movie, besides Kevin Bacon getting it. Mm-hmm. I gave it a 2 out of 5. I'm sorry, just wasn't my thing. If I had seen it when I was younger at the time, I'd probably have a different rating and review, and I have respect for where it has gone. But standalone product, not really impressed.
You know what scene I did like though? I like the decapitation scene at the end. I really do like that. I thought that was really cool. That and the Kevin Bacon thing, combined with the soundtrack and just sort of creating an archetype for a genre that would, and not only for a franchise but for a genre. I got to give this at least a 3.5 out of 5.
That's fine. We're looking at it through different lenses, 2 different lenses.
Tom Savini is the fucking man. That's all I'm gonna say. So, 3.5 out of 5. I loved it. That was great.
I think that's our biggest difference so far.
Yeah, I think so. You know what? There is one question. So, all right. So, Adrian King knocks out Pamela Voorhees, right? She hits her in the head with like a frying pan or something,
and she's bleeding.
And she runs away, and Pamela Voorhees is on the ground. Why not kill her?
I thought the same thing. Just kill her.
Why? Okay, fine. I don't want to kill anybody. I just want to get away, right? So she does that. And she gets in a canoe. But she never pushes that fucking canoe in the water. Why? Why wouldn't you push... And she pushes it in the water after she decapitates Mrs. Voorhees.
I agree that the camp counselors deserve to die.
They all deserve to die.
Right there.
I wish she died. That would have been awesome. But I guess they were trying to make room for Jason to come in. Mrs. Voorhees can't be alive if Jason's there. So, I don't know. Anyway, they're stupid. Here's the other reason why I like these movies in particular is because it gives me an opportunity to be smarter than every fucking character in the movie.
That I agree with.
You know what I mean? Like, I would have killed her if she was on the ground. Movie's over.
Well, the smartest character in the entire movie was Ralph. Crazy old drunk Ralph.
Yeah. You're doomed.
You're doomed. Which he somehow got into their pantry, which is also mind-boggling.
And weird.
Like, you're there to give them a message. Why not just knock on the door and say, hey, kids, I'm Crazy Ralph that gets drunk, but I gotta tell you, you all are doomed.
He's like the strange character. He's almost like the trope that, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre created with the hitchhiker in the beginning, where it's like, no, you gotta kill him with the hammer. The bolt causes everyone to lose their jobs. Like, you know, it's just that weird kind of soothsayer drifter type of person. I think that was, I thought that was pretty. I've always thought that those two characters were comparable.
Absolutely, and that's actually kind of one thing I do want to just mention before we move on. I loved Texas Chainsaw. I mean, I loved it.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
And I just didn't like Friday the 13th. I just like Texas Chainsaw was just way more enjoyable.
Well, do you like any of the other sequels or no?
I've seen 3 and it was awesome. I've never seen the first 2.
Oh, you did see the first 2. You just saw the first one.
I mean, I hadn't seen the first one before we watched it, but I've never seen the first 2. But I watched the third one night, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. But I haven't seen like Flannel Bag Jason or the Mother Jason, so I picked up at the hockey mask.
Oh my god, dude, we gotta review Jason X one day. I love Jason X. I don't care what anyone says. I know how ridiculous it is. I am completely on board with how ridiculous it is. Jason in space. 27 deaths? Are you kidding?
Oh my god, amazing! We got to do that one sometime.
That would be a lot of fun. I like Freddy vs. Jason too. I'll tell you what, that was one of the funnest movies I've ever seen in the movie theater. I went with my friend Jake, my friend Pat, a bunch of us. Joe, I don't know if you remember Joe from college. Joe, You remember him? Shit.
Yes, I do remember. Yes.
I'm gonna bleep out his name, but
Oh, sorry.
no, it's okay. I said it too. But we all went together, and people were going fucking crazy in the theater. It was awesome. It was one of the most exciting movies I've ever seen in the theater because everybody was having such a good time. So, and I think that's what these movies are all about. They're just about having fun, and I think that's maybe why I appreciate these ones a little bit more. So.
You are listening to Blood, Guts, and Blu-Ray with Bloodbath and Brett 667, the neighbor of the beast. We are dedicated to bringing you the show across your favorite medium. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. Please send all suggestions to bloodgutsandblueray@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.
It is what it is. Let's talk about Sleepaway Camp. It's one of my Sleepaway Camp is in my mind is a classic. Came out in 1983. Robert Hitzlick directed. Budget was $350,000. Box office was $11 million. I didn't write down the body count, but I have it here in my notes. Body count is 12. I have the naughty count down as 1. Why don't you go ahead and give me your synopsis?
Well, a terrible tragedy happens on the lake where a father is boating with his 2 children, and a couple of idiot kids run over one of the children as well as the father by accident. And then we flash forward to a time where it seems apparent that the aunt and her son have taken in one of the children and are sending them off to a camp, where, of course, the very sullen and quiet and shy and withdrawn child doesn't talk too much, obviously, because of their past. All these random deaths start happening. There's a huge slathering of sexual innuendo with the age that these kids are, which I'm kind of pegged them around 13 or 14, so experiencing the youthful sexual budding, not like the normal, like, teen college age, let's go bang somewhere. All the while, somebody's getting murdered. There are some seriously messed up adult characters, and it's quite disturbing, leading to a fantastic ending with a great twist that I unfortunately guessed halfway through, but it still didn't ruin it at the end. It was great. I loved it.
That's the thing. They sucked you into that in the middle of the movie. They alluded to that
so much
that Angela was actually not Angela. It was that she was a he.
Peter.
Yeah, Peter.
Right. Yep.
They alluded to it, but and then you kind of knew, you definitely knew, but the end is still fucking crazy.
Oh my god, how that actor held that face at the end was just like.
It still gives me the chills. Like, it's fucking terrifying.
Just to give a quick story, I was watching that movie the other night, and my roommate came in and walked into my room, and he's like, "What are you watching today?" And I said, "Sleepaway Camp," and he's like watching it with me. He's like, "What's this movie going on?" And I was just like, "Oh, this is what's happening around." I was like halfway through, and he and I got to watch the best quote of all the movies we've done so far in Blood, Guts, and Blu-Ray was, "She's a carpenter's dream. She's flat as a board and needs a screw." And he was like, "Oh my god, this movie's amazing." So after like 20 minutes, I ran out and I said, "Brant," I said, "I got some," and he's been like kind of coming in and out. I'm like, "Dude, this is the theory, bro." I'm like, the girl is actually the boy because she won't get naked in the shower. So everybody calls her a lesbian. She won't kiss the boy. When she kissed the boy, she got all awkward. She won't go swimming. I'm like, there's something weird about this girl, and they're really ambiguous in the beginning, showing which kid died because of the life vest just popping up. And the second that they showed that crazy mother in the beginning too, I said, there's something weird about that lady, because she keeps everything she decides, she flips it in the same sentence.
No, that won't do.
I'm like,
that won't do at all.
No, that won't do at all. And I said, you know what? I said, Angela's a boy. And I knew it. I'm like, she's a fucking dude. It didn't even matter that I knew it. the ending when she stood up, it was game over. I was like, oh God, stop. And then the movie turns to green and has that same look on her face, his face, and I'm like, I'm done.
It scares the shit out of me every single time I see it, and you can just tell that her head is on somebody else's body. Like they took a plaster cast of her face and then put it on somebody else's body. That's what it is. That's what the special effect is.
Yeah.
But it's still like, it basically looks like somebody. It looks like Troy Polamalu, and then somebody photoshopped her face. And then it's just making this crazy noise, and then the screen stops, and it's still making that noise, and it goes to green, and I'm like, every single time, dude. I've seen that movie a ton of times.
It's like a weird inhale and a roar at the same time. It's just so. And then of course, like, she's stroking the boy's hair, and he's got a smile on his face, and then my guy's decapitated. The ending was just such a. I mean, it was so powerful. It was a drop kick to the chest. It was fantastic.
Do you remember when when we lived in the house and I worked at Nash, the beer place?
Yes, I do.
The guy who was in charge of me had a Sleepaway Camp tattoo, and that's how I knew I was gonna do just fine there.
There you go.
Even though that was the worst job ever, and if you were a higher up at Nash, go fuck yourself. I fucking hate you. But but I like Tommy. His name is Tommy. He's a great guy, and he's like, Sleepaway Camp is my favorite movie. It's one of the best endings in the history of film. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. The mom in the beginning is fucking crazy, which you could tell. I think she's one of the weirdest characters in any movie I've ever seen. And then you have the creepiest cook that you have that you've ever encountered.
He calls little girls baldies, so they really set the tone. Ugh.
But the Ricky, the cousin, who is awesome. I love Ricky. He's like my fucking spirit animal, dude. I love him. I love the way that the way that these campers talk to. They curse at each other and shit. Like shut the fuck up, pussy, and they're calling each other names, because that's how me and my friends talked when we would be playing, run the bases in the street or something. I got sucked right back into that age.
It's so appropriate for that age, because now you're not around the parents. And he has another great quote where he says, "Why don't you go blow a dead dog or something while they're playing baseball?" And I was like, that's a great quote.
Talking when we used to play wiffle ball and shit down the street on Sundays, and the cops would show up because we were cursing and stuff outside. It must have sounded like the audio to this movie, because that's exactly what it was. Like, oh, go fuck yourself. Like, that's the way we talked. So, and these are all like New York kids, northeastern New York, New Jersey kids. So, we're all cut from the same crop there. The first dead kid corpse that they find under the canoe is awesome. I love it, with the snake in it and everything. Oh, well, that's so good.
Well, we were talking about practical effects. This movie had great practical effects.
I thought all the effects in this movie were really, really good. But
the kid getting killed by the bee skeeved me out the most, and it's also because they didn't show a lot. They kind of just showed the side of the head and a part of the arm as he was laying down in the hand. But the face covered with bees, it gave me the goosebumps. I was like, oh god.
Yeah. I agree. Also, this camp sucks. It's like it's like non-stop physical education. Like, no bitchy counselor is going to tell me what I can and can't do. You know what I mean? Because it's like that girl, Meg. I have a lot. I'm not going to say it because it would be mean. But if I'm being honest with myself, I wrote down my notes here. I've seen this movie a bunch of times, but I still write down notes. And the C word is written down a ton of times. Like, a ton of times. Referring to Judy, referring to Meg. I'm not going to say it because I know it's... I say it, my wife says it, we all say it, but some people don't like it, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so I'm not going to say it. But I was so, one of the most fulfilling parts of the movie is when Meg dies. I loved it. I felt
yeah.
good that she died. And then Judy dies later. Oh, so great.
By curling iron.
And did you read up on how she was killed with that curling iron?
No, but I kind of had a feeling about where it went. Yep.
You know who would have been fucking awesome in this movie? They should have found a place for him. I wish he was probably because he might have lived out on the West Coast. The Billy Zabka, the fucking guy from Karate Kid. The jerk from Karate Kid. He would have been he would have been perfect for this movie.
Oh, because there's so many Cobra Kais in the whole the older camp kids. I mean, they were just fucking pricks.
There's a online side note here. Online, you can go. It's on YouTube, and there's a whole video dedicated to why Billy Zabka is actually the good guy in Karate Kid, and Daniel LaRusso is the bad guy, and they go.
Yes.
And I'm a believer. So, let's see what else do I have here. Like Angela's reveal at the end. I still cannot get over how good that part was. The fact that that Angela is not a girl is not the crazy part. That's not the crazy part.
No.
You already know that. But again, I'm starting to repeat myself. But yeah, I don't know.
But you and I kind of agree with you on the repeat, because you and I can't stress enough that we could tell every single listener and tell every person that Angela's really a boy, and it won't spoil the reveal.
Won't. It won't.
It just won't. It just won't. And it's not even the reveal, it's the fact of how long they hold the reveal, where you're just like, okay, I fucking get it. Just roll credits.
What was your rating on this?
My rating at the moment, and I know we said we're not going to fluctuate, my rating is a 3.5, but it's really dangerously close to a 4. I'm at 3.5, but like we were saying, we're not going to change it. The more we're talking about it, I'm getting closer to a 4, but I'm going to stick to my guns and say a 3.5. It was extremely well done. It was shocking at the end. It had a very good plot and a lot of believable characters and harkened back to a younger age. So I'm sticking with 3.5, although I kind of want to go 4.
Just go 4. Go 4.
I'm gonna go 4. I'm gonna give it a fucking 4. It was the last movie I watched, and I think one of the reasons I stuck with 3.5 is I felt that maybe I was going too high because I enjoyed it more than everything else. But the more I'm thinking about the psychological torture in that movie, and just, my heart pounded a lot. Even like when Meg picked up Angela and threw her in the water, I was like really uncomfortable and sad and hurt for Angela the entire time. You hurt for a lot of these characters when you're watching it. And just like we were talking about Friday the 13th, I was glad a lot of people that bit it.
But and you just and you love some characters. I love Ricky. He's awesome.
Oh, Ricky's great. He's just your take no shit, spit at your fucking feet, young teenage boy that wants to protect his cousin because he knows that she's been through trauma and has a great friend, or a seemingly great friend, but he's a pretty good friend. And he's the little guy that is throwing bows at people who come at him, and they're bigger than him, they're stronger than him, and he doesn't care. He goes toe-to-toe with anybody through the whole movie, and he was just a fucking spitfire. And I definitely liked Ricky a lot.
Would you say that this is the best summer horror movie?
At this juncture, I cannot think of another one. I absolutely loved it, and it not only was it the best movie we've watched and the best horror summer movie I've seen, it encompasses a lot outside of the chick dude murdering people. It really did encompass a lot of that youthful age, like you said, the playing wiffle ball or hockey in the streets, cursing at each other, and having parents come outside and yell at us. It was just, it felt so real that it was definitely one of the best, if not the best summer movie. I think this is the best summer horror movie.
The more I think about it, I will save this one for last. Not for the podcast. For to watch out of the 4, and I did that. And I did that.
So did I.
I did it on purpose because I'd seen it before, and the whole time I'm thinking, I cannot think of a better summer horror movie than Sleepaway Camp. I really can't. So, anyway, that's gonna do it.
Yep.
Thanks again for listening, and we'll be back next week talking about a movie, not 4. Sorry, but Bruce will be here, and we're really excited to have him. So we're gonna let the Bride of Bloodbath take it away.
Thank you for listening to Blood, Guts, and Blu-Ray with Bloodbath and Brett667, the neighbor of the beast. Written by Brett and Bloodbath. Edited and produced by Bloodbath. Music has been graciously provided by the Slasher Film Festival Strategy from album Psychic Shield, available now on Death Waltz Originals. Artwork and logo have been provided by Bruce Tedford. Blood, Guts, and Blu-Ray is available on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Facebook as well as @Blood, Guts, Blu-Ray on Twitter, @BloodGuts and Blu-Ray on Instagram, and visit our Tumblr page by going to bloodgutsandblueray.tumblr.com. For any questions regarding the show, advertising, or anything else, please send an email to bloodgutsandblueray@gmail.com. Thanks again. Get possessed.